It's your personality, EA. It's your tour guide, EA. It's whatever you want to call me, but call me EA. Let's roll. Are you kidding me?
Analyzethis, I have the pleasure to sit down with our former police chief, our former mayor. He's helped a lot in our community, Mr. Tom Potter. Welcome, Mr. Tom Potter, to our show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here, and I've been looking forward to it.
Tell me about like white privilege and what it means to be like white privilege.
Well, it took me a long time to realize what it meant, because like a lot of people, I grew up poor. I didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth when I was born, so I thought, well, by gosh, I've earned what I got. And I realized, there are a lot of people in our society that because of the color of their skin, they can work just as hard as I worked and not get the same advantages and not have the same privileges. And that, to me, really hit me hard. I mean, I thought, there's something wrong with this picture. We talk in this country about what a great democracy it is and equality and justice for all. It just doesn't work that way. I know a lot of poor white people, but
they're still privileged.
They're still privileged when they get in their car. Unless they're a lawbreaker, chances of them getting stopped are pretty slim. And I know so many African American families, the mothers that worry about their sons, that teach their sons from a very early age about how to behave if a police officer stops you. So those kind of things really stuck with me, and I thought, it's not just enough to be a police officer, it's not just enough to be a mayor, but you have to start looking at those things that deprive large segments of our community from their full civil rights, from their rights as a community person, from political rights. Those are the things that we need to correct. When we started community policing, and I talked to the officers about it, and then I go out and talk to the community, and I'm including the African American community, loved it because they wanted police officers that they could trust, that they could call, that they could feel they're going to help me when they get here. Right. So the role of police in society has really changed over the years, but to me, the real role has never changed.
I know you started the Youth Violence Prevention Program with Mr. John Kanda, which later went to Mr. Rob Ingram, rest in peace, and then now Antoinette. But that program itself, what made you start that program?
The need, and what I was hearing in the community. And I heard John Kanda and this guy who had retired from the police bureau named Tom Peavy. And Tom Peavy is still there.
Oh, yes, yes. I talked to Tom Peavy.
He's been doing this a long time.
Antoinette's retiring, he's still there.
And he is still there. And he was there when John retired. He was there, when Rob died. He was there to continue it on. He's been the kind of the continuity.
He was a police officer too?
He's a retired police officer. He got community policing. And that's what he's doing right now. Is his version of community policing.
Oh yes,
and
absolutely.
It's very direct, and it's very focused on helping these young people find a different way to live life. And
definitely. Shout out to Tom Peavy.
When I was chief, as mayor, I never referred to police officers as law enforcement officers. That's the last thing in the world they should do.
How long did you be a police chief? How long were you a police chief?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah. But I was a deputy chief for several years, and then I was in the bureau for 27 years.
Why'd you give up? I mean, or not give up? Why'd you leave? Why'd you leave your
You're
cushy
so
job? Why'd you leave your cushy job?
The cushy job was breaking my back. When you're changing an organization, there's always constant strife.
Hello.
The culture is always saying you can't do that.
Right.
And so when I would go in and talk to police officers, here's this great thing that you can do. You can get to know a community, you can become their friend, you can become somebody that when they need help, they call for you specifically, not just any police officer. So, and then I'd talk about community policing. It's about building relationships. It's about building trust. It's about keeping your word. It's about listening. Cops become cynical. because what they see is the negative side of society.
I see.
And
I
so
get
it's
that.
easy to get cynical. And to me, one of the things about community policing is you get to meet all the good people. You're not out there looking for the bad people. You're going out to meet the good people and have them work with you and you work with them to solve their problems. And sometimes you have to enforce the law.
Absolutely.
But that should always be the last choice.
We miss you in this community, actually in the forefront. I'm aware of some of the stuff you're doing behind the scenes. That's what I want to sit down and talk to you about. As far as like politics and like what's going on with you. Are you running? Is there some campaigns that we need to know about? What's going on?
Yeah. What we see as our role in this community is helping people of color.
Yes.
One, begin to develop leadership. There's a lot of communities, particularly the recent immigrants, that have not got to that stage where they have developed the leadership. And secondly, is once you get the leadership, is how do you use that energy and the people to move towards solving a particular problem? And how do you do that, like with a city council or a state legislature? So one of the things I did as mayor is we started classes on this, and they're still going today, civic leadership, where these communities can learn about what does it take to be a leader, and am I one of those? And to me, everybody's a potential leader.
Absolutely.
And so how do you recognize it, how you build it up, and how you make a difference in your community working with this other community?
Right.
And one of the things, a secondary issue, but we have all these wonderful, beautiful communities in our city, and often they're pitted against each other. What I've seen in politics is sometimes there's the pie we all divide up, and here's this little narrow slice that goes to the communities of color, and sometimes politicians will throw the money out there and say, okay, now you guys fight over it and tell us who you want us to give it to. And then that's pitting them against each other. In our community, we have all these folks who have so much potential that it's not being realized. What my wife and I know is that we can work with people, and sometimes when someone says, I want to run for an office, a public office, I sit down and explain to them some of the pitfalls. To me, the very first pitfall is that a lot of people get elected for the right reason, and they stay in it for the wrong reason. They get elected because they want to serve the people, but after a while, the sense of power and entitlement, and
so that's human nature. That's automatic.
It's human nature, but it's not. It doesn't have to be automatic,
Okay.
and that's what I tell people is every day question yourself when you get elected. Have I changed? Do I know who I work for? Do I know what my job is? Am I making a difference? Those things are really, to me, basic to good government. Whether you're a cop, a mayor, a citizen, a new immigrant, everybody has a role to play.
So you believe in undocumented workers and people coming over and just invading the country?
We had several at our party the other day.
Absolutely.
And can you tell the difference?
I couldn't.
I can't tell the difference.
No, I couldn't. They're human
beings. But there's also some of the hardest working people I know.
Absolutely. I
And
agree with that.
because they're undocumented, they still have to pay into Social Security and taxes and all of that, but they can't collect any of it because they're not documented. So, for
doesn't make
the
sense.
government, it's a kind of a freebie. They get the
Yeah.
money through the taxes, and
So they're paying our retirement. That's
it's something that they'll never have for themselves until they become a citizen.
So how long would you say is a good stay in politics?
Well, I believe in term limits. I think that 2 4-year terms should be enough. That's 8 years. That's about a third of a working lifetime for most people. So if you can't do it in that time, chances are you're not going to do it in another 8 years.
So what if they're doing it? And what if they're just like
What if they're really producing?
Yeah, and it's like you don't want to just bring some new energy in when you're just like you already got something working.
But you do want that new energy. See,
Okay.
that's the thing.
Okay.
They've been applying those things that they think are of value, and sometimes they are. But here's all these people waiting in the wings to say, "Hey, wait a minute, I got an idea." Well, I'm sorry, you stay there till I'm decide I'm going to retire,
Right.
and then have your shot at it.
Okay.
Well, I believe that we need to get more people in government, and I believe that those people have to come in with a cause and with a set of clear guidelines and understanding of what they want to do. But when the time is up, it's kind of like you go in one door and you go out the other.
Right.
But some people try to lock both doors so no one can get in and no one can get out.
It's powerful. It's powerful.
It's powerful.
You get that. You get that authority. You don't want to let that authority go.
Well,
that was amazing. You did. You didn't even seek a second term.
No, I didn't.
You had enough.
I'd had enough, and quite frankly, I loved our communities in Portland. If that's what I had to work with all the time, I could have gone for another 4-year term. Unfortunately, the politics is what gets people. And the politics isn't about what's doing right. It's about how are you going to make me happy. I contributed to your campaign. When I ran for mayor, I said I'm going to limit contributions to $25, and I did. And people thought I was crazy. I had people say, you can't win a campaign if you just take in $25. You got to take $25,000. That's where it'll make a difference.
I mean, it sounds right.
It sounds right because more often than not, that's how it works.
So what do you get to do with that $25,000? You just use it to campaign for, or do you get to put that in your pocket?
See, that's where campaign funds are really iffy, because you can use it for your campaign. You can put it into somebody else's campaign. In New Jersey, people give to you money in Oregon for your campaign, and
then I support somebody else.
Support somebody else, because then you can develop friendships and owe me's. You owe me.
This is it's political all the way around.
Well, that's what
they got rules on top of rules to make you just keep doing things.
And so the whole idea around money is that the more money you get, the better chance you have. But that money obligates you, and I don't care what anybody says. When someone gives you $25,000, they expect something in return. And I've had this argument with politicians, and they say, it doesn't make any difference at all. And I say, well, now, if that person called you on your private line, will you answer? Well, of course I will.
No.
Will, if you call, will they answer? I doubt it. So there's an obligation that money, even though it's never spoken, no one says, hey, I'm doing this because of this, at least that I know of. But there's the obligation. It's $25,000. What is it going to get me? So when I want something done in the city, I'm going to call up this guy or this gal because I gave them some big money.
And they say that to you, do they?
And they'll get 2 or 3 other people and come in and
I contributed $25,000 to your campaign. And can you do this now?
Well, and normally they don't even. It's much more subtle than that. The politician already knows how much they contributed, because before the person comes in, their secretary says, well, this is one of your contributors, and they gave this amount and this amount.
So is that something that will ever change, or is that something that can be reformed?
It can be reformed. It can be changed.
So what would you suggest someone want to get into politics right now? I know you spoke on it earlier. You have organizations you're lined up with. How can we find those organizations? Because they're not just like out in the public. They're not on. They're not in the yellow pages. They're not in the yellow pages. You just can't find them. They're like almost like a secret society.
Yep. Well, actually, no. You can talk to a lot of people who are successful business people. Some people in politics now. There are people you can talk to, and like what you do, Eric, is that you kind of barge in and say, hey, I want to talk to you. You're not kind of knocking on the door and waiting for somebody to answer. You open the door and go in, which is how it should be done.
Okay. I'm going to take note
of that. And
then
finding out who it is that can help you. And you've done a really good job at that. You say, you ask me, who can I meet at this party? How can we?
You show me. You connected the dots for me.
You were great at it. I saw you walking around and doing that. That's how you build name recognition. And one of the things I tell people who want to run for office is you got to develop some name recognition.
So I trust you. Who are some good, healthy names that I should be looking into in the up and coming politics? Like commissioners, because commissioners who really help the local communities. Yes. I want to align myself in with them. I want to help get their message out, because that to me is important. So who would you suggest?
The Multnomah County Commission has all women, and I think 3 of the 5 are communities of color.
Okay.
And Sushila Jayapal.
Sushila Jayapal.
Yes. And the woman from Gresham, she went from being a Republican after she got elected to switching to being a Democrat.
Good choice.
Good choice.
Very good choice.
But there are people all you have to do is look up on any website, see where the politicians are, look at what their statements are about what they believe in.
I'm scared to follow that stuff because that stuff is usually ran by campaign managers. I speak the language a little bit, so I understand that works. I usually get my people from people like you, like people I know that already got good relationships. You got your eye out open for it. So when you say something, I'm gonna go look at it a little bit more closely. So looking at a website for me would be backwards because they say anything on them websites.
They do, but if you look for the BS stuff, you can quickly sort through and find out who's really being honest.
Righteous. It's hard to follow that regimen in regards to social media now. It's like everybody's so disengaged. It's hard to get out and really see people and engage with people.
Well, it is, but it's not impossible. When I became mayor, I started 10 minutes with Tom. And
I like that.
Once a month, every Saturday, all day long, I would go to a particular location, and my press person in the office would advise the people in that area through the media or whatever that I was going to be, at Knott Street Community Center, that I would be at the Northeast Precinct, that I would be at another spot. I went all over Portland doing that, and every Saturday, anybody could come in. They had to sign up and take their turn, but I would stay there until the last person left. That really educated me, not about how things were 10 years ago, but
what's
today,
going on right now. Right.
What's right now. And it really helped me in terms of helping formulate, here are the policies that I think we should be looking at. So we developed Vision into Action, which was going out and talking to people about what they wanted to see from the city, but doing it in a very formal way. We had a question with 4 questions on it. I mean, nothing, 85 questions, just 4 questions. The last 2 were the key, though, and that is, here are the things that the city does. Would you be willing to be involved? Which is, you want to organize and get people out. And then lastly, what are you going to do today? Is this something you want to start
today? Right
today.
Now.
And so those kind of questions, we interviewed almost 17,000 people and have all of their interviews written down. And using that information to start developing policy about what people not only said they wanted from government, but what they're willing to do to make good government happen. And to me, that's always the key to any success politically, is getting people involved in making good things happen.
So are there any good commissioners out here that I should be looking at?
Well, that's the one thing I don't want to get into.
Okay.
I think that you like any situation walking into it, you've got to assume that they're going to be okay until you find out differently.
Right.
And
so
you should be talking to them.
What's going on with Alberley? How can I
Well,
find him?
he decided he needed to run because he felt that District 3, which is a U.S. congressional district that's currently occupied by
Earl
Blumenauer.
Yes.
But he decided that there needed to be a change in leadership. He wasn't criticizing Earl. He was just saying, it's time for a person of color to come in there and provide some new energy, some new ideas, and based on his own experiences, some new ways to look at things.
Right, which makes sense.
Which makes real good sense, and
Right.
I'm so impressed with him. We went to one of his community meetings, and I thought, wow, this guy, he's had an interesting life, and he's come up with these great ideas about how we can make things better, and he wants to take it to Congress. And I think with the way things are right now in Congress and politics, I really respect people who are willing to go wade into the mud
Right.
and
The
try to
dirt.
get something done.
Yes.
And clean it up and make it better. Also, our friend Carmen Rubio, she's a Latina that has been working in the community. She worked for me for 4 years. She is the director of the Latina Network.
Okay.
And has done tremendous work. I mean, she started an organization that had 5 or 6 people, and now it's 150 people that are working to meet the needs of the Latino community in Oregon. And
I also saw you had Shannon Olive.
And you went to school.
I went to school. I just couldn't remember her last name. I only know her by her first name. But Shannon, she's great.
This is a woman that has no money, but she said, I'm going to do something about this. I want to work, develop programs around young women coming out of prison.
I was impressed.
She was so impressive. I just thought, wow,
Yeah.
I want to be like that when I grow up.
What's the name of our organization?
Women First.
Huh?
Women First.
Women First.
First.
Women
Yeah,
First.
you know, and they go into the prison 6 months before the person's to be released and start working with them, preparing them. You know, too many people come out of prisons, they're not ready. You know, they've been institutionalized in the sense that you get up at a certain time when the bell rings and you have your meals. You know, and so when they get out, there's no one to tell them what to do.
Absolutely.
And there are no job opportunities because now they have something hanging around their necks called an ex-felon.
Hello.
You know,
A jacket.
So, you know, and so people come out of there, and the chances are that they're going to get back into a bad problem because people haven't prepared them for what's going to happen on the outside, giving them the tools, giving them connections.
Right.
And that's what she has done so well. You know, she is on her own, and she goes out and fundraises like she did at our party.
Wow, she
And
impressed
she asked
me.
people. Oh,
Yeah,
well,
she has the
a
right.
year ago she came, and I met her, and we went inside and got a check and gave it to her and said, here, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. It's
This
so
woman.
hard to maintain that attitude. So I do salute those type of people that can maintain it for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And
And it's
know,
easy to give up.
It's very easy
You
to
know,
give
in
up.
fact, sometimes that's the the least resistance in terms of,
Absolutely.
well, you know, people don't seem to be excited about this, or I don't have enough money to get to payday next week.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't give up. And I have so much admiration for people. I have more admiration for her than I do most politicians.
And you're powerful, man. I can sit and talk to you until the sun goes up again.
You know,
what
after
I'm saying?
78 years, if you haven't figured some things out,
No, you definitely got a lot of blueprint, man. Like without you in our community, there's a lot of things that wouldn't have happened. That's my job, is just trying to push the culture forward.
exactly.
Trying to get things
And
out.
you do a good job at it, Derek.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for doing it. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for sitting down with us. Mwah, mwah. I want to thank all my new subscribers. I want to thank everyone that supports EA and Analyzethis. Thanks for being part of the discussion. I just love everybody. You want to support me? Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you just seek out where we are. Hello.
Hello there.
Duh. People. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other. Let's go.